Now, as we are roughly a week into version 2.2 and are slowly approaching the second phase, players will finally have an opportunity to once again pick up one of the most valuable characters in the game. Though with that being said, the Shorekeeper's rerun has definitely lost some value due to a few factors players may want to consider. On top of that, unlike every other limited banner we have received so far, the Shorekeeper's rerun will be available for an even shorter duration than usual. So it will be slightly more difficult for some players to pick up the Shorekeeper on her rerun and so then may have to skip. Though for those that have managed to Ashtrice a bit better than others, I'll be going over the Shorekeeper's kid standouts to indicate her overall value, factors to consider before you do pull the trigger on the Shorekeeper's banner, and ultimately, whether or not the Shorekeeper is still a must-pull character as she was on her initial release. Just before we jump into it, as always, would really appreciate it if you could subscribe for more WutheringWaves content and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Now, the Shorekeeper still holds incredible value for being our only premium dedicated support, given she is able to heal through multiple abilities, deals considerable damage through her super intro skill, synergizes within literally any team composition, provides a damage amplification of 15%, and above all, buffs both crit rates and crit damage massively for the entire team. In specific, the Shorekeeper's Liberation is capable of providing a max of 12.5% crit rate and 25% crit damage to all allies. The crit damage bonus is of course amazing as it will lead to characters dealing more damage, but the crit rate bonus is arguably the most valuable aspect of the Shorekeeper's kit, considering it will allow a DPS character to go from not being able to crit consistently to then being able to do so, which enables them to perform much better overall and for there to be much less pressure on attaining perfect echo substats. So with the fact that the Shorekeeper currently is the only character still able to buff both crit rates and crit damage, really does go to show the immense amount of value she still holds within version 2.2. In addition, the ability to synergize with literally any character due to providing buffs that aren't tied to a specific damage type or attribute certainly allows the Shorekeeper to be one of the best characters to invest into long term. So with that on top of the ability to heal through various abilities, the Shorekeeper without a doubt has remained to be one of the most valuable characters in the game that players definitely may want to consider picking up in 2.2. Now, on the other hand, there are some factors to consider that have somewhat impacted the Shorekeeper's value since her release. Initially, the Shorekeeper was most valuable for being our second 5-star character after Verena with the ability to heal. The crit damage and crit rate buffs she is able to provide are of course extremely valuable, but the constant healing the Shorekeeper dishes out really was the most important aspect of her kit, especially when you do need multiple healers to clear endgame content such as Tower of Adversity, which meant pulling for the Shorekeeper was massive for your account back in version 1.3. However, with the recent releases of Brant, Cantarella, and even Rover, the Shorekeeper's value has definitely diminished slightly as all three of these characters are able to heal a considerable amount throughout their kit. So no longer will players be inclined to pull for the Shorekeeper if they want another healer aside from Verena, since now there are more characters that can heal and provide a lot of utility on top. Although, with Brant and Cantarella in specific, they don't really specialize in the support role like the Shorekeeper as they are currently more suited to play as a sub DPS, which means the Shorekeeper will still currently feature amongst their best team compositions as the support. However, with time, it does seem like the meta will shape into consisting of mono-element compositions, which essentially means characters such as Brant, Cantarella, and Rover will slowly fit more into the support role and will replace the Shorekeeper. The closest one to forming right now is the Mono Fusion team, since all that's missing is a fusion main DPS that deals damage scaling of liberation damage and can amplify basic attack damage through the outro skill. With that, Changli as the sub DPS and Brant as the support providing enough heals to sustain the team will allow for there to be perfect synergy between all three characters. So pretty much I do expect the same for Havoc and Aero sometime soon, since we can pretty much see the Mono Aero team forming in the next couple of versions with Rover being the support, Giacona likely being the sub DPS and Carlotta being the main DPS. So all in all, the fact that there are currently more healers players have been able to pick up recently and with Rover being free, along with the fact that these healers have potential to replace the Shorekeeper as the dedicated support for future meta team compositions, of course would slightly reduce the amount of value the Shorekeeper does ultimately hold. Aside from that, another factor to consider would be linked to the Shorekeeper's Rerun banner releasing for a shorter duration than usual. Now the reason being would be due to the very next version being the first anniversary update of WutheringWaves, and unlike certain Gacha games, I do expect WutheringWaves to properly celebrate the first anniversary and will hopefully make it feel like an anniversary. So with that in mind, I'm sure I don't need to tell you guys that the character that does release alongside an anniversary tends to be game breaking and a bit more special than other characters. As of now, the character that does seem to be next after the Shorekeeper's Rerun, unless someone does drop unexpectedly, should be Zani. So alongside the immense popularity that is already surrounding Zani, the fact that she will be releasing within the anniversary version update means that she will likely stand out than majority of other characters. Even if you may not like her design, she will likely be able to offer something special through her kit to pull players in. So given Zani will be dropping right after the Shorekeeper's Rerun and much more sooner than usual, you may then not have enough to pull for the Shorekeeper, whilst also ensuring you do have enough to pull for Zani right afterwards. Therefore, the Shorekeeper's Rerun placement isn't exactly the best for players that don't already have her. But of course it's releasing at the best possible time for the devs that are looking to squeeze as much money as they can from players. With all of that said, of course there will be the livestream showcasing what to expect from version 2.3. But in terms of the max potential of Zani in specific, that wouldn't exactly be revealed until the Shorekeeper is gone and with the release of version 2.3. Overall, the Shorekeeper without a doubt still remains to be incredibly valuable, and even though there are now more healers available, the fact that the Shorekeeper still currently is the only character able to buff both crit rate and crit damage will mean she does have a massive edge over alternative options. Even later on when mono element compositions are formed and the Shorekeeper isn't featured amongst the best variations of certain compositions, the buffs the Shorekeeper provides for the entire team opposed to just the next character will hold immense value overall. Additionally, with quickswap compositions such as Changli and Carlotta, the Shorekeeper will in fact remain to be the best option as the support for quite a while, since outro skill and buffs don't end when you switch off from the DPS, unlike the buffs that Brant and Cantarella provide. So all in all, I'd say the Shorekeeper still is an amazing character to pick up as she provides a ton of value through her kit. But due to us receiving 3 brand new healers back to back, that must pull factor for the Shorekeeper has definitely been impacted and isn't as necessary if you do need a healer. Lastly, if you are considering sequence nodes for the Shorekeeper, they would of course hold more value than other characters in general, but considering the anniversary update is right after, I wouldn't really recommend going for them unless you do spend money on the game, in which it would then be completely down to you whether you are going to be picking up sequence nodes. So pretty much as usual, it's dependent on your account and whether you have pulled characters such as Cantarella and Brant as of recent, if you intend to build teams consisting of them as the dedicated supports in the future, and whether you have enough Ashtrads prepared for the anniversary update. Though in general, the Shorekeeper no doubt will be one of the best characters to invest into long term, given she will offer amazing value as a general support rather than support towards a specific team, ultimately making her an incredible character to still pick up within version 2.2. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe for more WutheringWaves content, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Also drop a comment down below on whether you will be picking up the Shorekeeper or will you be skipping. And yeah, hope to catch you guys later.